All right, so we're going to start, and of course, people will still keep popping in. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the National Speakers Association Ohio chapter, Paid to Speak. It's a program where we want to talk tonight about how can you actually learn how to get paid to share your expertise and your wisdom. We got a jam-packed program for you tonight. We're going to start off with our panel in just a few moments, but I did want to give you a chance to at least think about a couple things to kind of lay the foundation. Number one, this is something we all have learned over the years. We really don't talk about ourselves as a speaker. We talk about ourselves as an expert who speaks. So part of your homework assignment, and maybe we'll ask you this a little bit later tonight, if you want to be a professional speaker and you want to get paid, you need to be thinking about what problem do you solve? So we're in the problem-solving business, and our panel tonight, as you hear their introductions, you're going to hear the kind of problems or challenges that they solve. And the other thing that I think is helpful if you want to move forward and get into the profession of being a paid speaker. And some of you may already be getting paid, and that's great. Maybe you want to learn how to get paid more or more often, is to be sure you're kind of understanding the why, why you want to be in the business and what's the reason that drives you to want to help other people. So as we get jumping in, I'm going to start out, and I know some people will still be joining us, so we'll just keep plugging away. I want to start out with our first poll. And we got a very quick poll just to kind of get a flavor for who's with us today. And so in a moment, Jim's going to launch the first poll. I hope all of you can please answer the poll. You'll see the questions coming up in a moment. And so whenever you're ready, Jim, let's go ahead. We'll launch our first poll. And so we'd like to get an idea of what your experience is. So take a look. There are a few categories there. Read through theirs and pick one that is most relevant to you. And again, some people may be joining us. So if you're just joining us, take a moment and submit your answers whenever you get a chance. Again, there are various categories that describe your experience with speaking. Those of you that are watching at home, you don't have a chance to, on the recording, by the way, if you're watching this, you can't vote, but you can still think about where do you fall in this category. So I don't know if, Jim, are people starting to vote? Are we getting some responses?
Yes, we are.
Okay.
Let's give it a few minutes. I think we're reading these long answers and trying to figure out what category we're in, but give it a second.
Perfect.
All right. I think I'll go ahead and end the poll now. See the results.
Okay, so we got a nice mix. I'm sure all of you can see what's on the group today. About 35% of the folks who are actually doing some speaking in the small business owner or have a professional speaking career. And then we have a variety of folks in the other categories. So pretty nice mix. So again, I'm glad you can join us tonight. We're talking about how to get paid for your expertise as a professional speaker. And so we're going to go ahead and close the poll. And so let's kind of jump in. I wanted to start out with, we call this the lightning round. We have 3 panel members. Each panel member is going to have about 3 minutes to share some thoughts around different topics. I'm going to introduce them and give them a few moments to share their thoughts. And again, what I'd like you to be doing in our audience today is A, hopefully take a couple notes, and then B, start to jot down some particular questions because we are going to have time for Q&A a little bit later. We're not going to do any Q&A right now. So Jim, I'm going to go ahead, and I'm assuming you've locked in the panel members on the screen now. So I'm going to introduce our first panel member, Lisa Ryan, who has an MBA and she's a CSP. By the way, CSP stands for Certified Speaking Professional. And Lisa helps organizations develop employee engagement strategies that keep their top talent from becoming somebody else's. And Lisa's a best-selling author of 11 books and a COVID-inspired acrylic artist. So Lisa, you got some tips for us tonight on the whole idea of sales and marketing, how to get and keep clients in today's competitive marketplace. So I'll give you a couple minutes, Lisa, and share your top 3 tips.
The first one is really important for people who are just starting their speaking business, and that's what I refer to as death by comma. So death by comma is primarily, well, what do you speak about? Oh, I speak about leadership, comma, customer service, comma, human relationships, comma, Microsoft Excel, comma, Julia Child's cooking, and I don't know, what do you want me to speak about? When you're the jack of all trades, you're the master of none. We've probably heard that before. So the very important thing is to define your market. what is it? And it's not looking for the market of what's the most popular topic right now, because by the time you build up momentum for that, people are going to go on to the next thing. So the very first thing is, what's my message and who's my market and how can I have the blank? Like when people in NSA say manufacturing, they're like, oh, that's Lisa Ryan because that's my niche. The second one, to be persistent without being annoying. This is a sales job. You are selling your speech. It's not the speech itself, it's getting the speech. So a lot of times people say, well, I called that person 6 months ago. If I called them again, then then it's going to be annoying to them. No, they didn't remember you 5 minutes after they deleted your email. So we look for ways to err. And that actually takes me to my third tip, is to be easy to work with, but to err on the side of generosity. So when you are connecting with people, you're not connecting them, hire me, hire me, hire me, hire me. When are you going to be looking at your speakers? When can I come speak to your group? It's like, oh, here's an article that I thought you might find helpful. Here's a video I thought you might find helpful. I'm not a fit for that speaking opportunity, but I'd love to refer you. What are you looking for? So we always look for ways that we're staying in touch often enough to remain top of mind, and that we're willing to always err on the side of generosity and service, because that's what keeps us top of mind.
I love that, Lisa. So hopefully, as you're listening, a couple of things I want to just sum up, and then we're going to jump over to Lillian. Number one, we talked about earlier, what's your expertise, right? So what is it you're trying to solve? What kind of problem are you hoping to solve? Number two, obviously, as Lisa said, this is a business that takes some time and effort. So your phone's not just going to ring. You have to really be conscious about making outbound calls, having a target list. And I like to use the phrase, Lisa, make deposits before you make withdrawals. So how do you make deposits? Excellent. Well, listen, we're going to jump to Lillian. And again, you jot down your questions and take some of these tips to heart. And we're going to continue to move along, and we'll take some of your questions towards the end of our program today. Lillian Zarzar, who has an MA and a CSP, and again, another certified speaking professional. She's an adjunct faculty in communication studies at Ohio University Lancaster campus. She's the author. She's a personal development coach, and she's a consultant to emerging leaders. And Lillian's going to talk a little bit about not only speaking skills, but speaking relationships on and off the stage. So Lillian, you got the floor. Let's share some of your tips around that topic.
Thank you, Patrick. I really appreciate this opportunity, and I welcome everyone. Every single one of you has a message. What is that message? You want to tell the world? Well, the most important relationships are three. Number one, the relationship with you, yourself. Number two, the relationship with your clients and other people who are around you and with whom you interact and talk about your business and what you want to accomplish and how you want to help them solve problems. And the third relationship is with your audience. So in the first relationship, that is the most important, because if you don't know yourself, you can't be authentic from the stage. If you don't know what you really talk about or what your expertise is, you'll want to talk about everything, as Lisa mentioned. You want to be someone who has an expertise in an area that you're passionate about, that you absolutely love, and that you want to share with the world. Because if you know that this is a problem that everybody else is having and you've solved it, then you can be the expert who can come in and say, I've been there, I can share this with you, and I can tell you all about that. But you've got to know yourself first of all. So who are you? What label do you use? What are your beliefs? What do you live by? What makes you get up in the morning and get excited about your life? Because that's going to be portrayed and given evidence to when you're in front of an audience and in front of anyone you're speaking to. So remember that you are the most important person in your life, and you'd better know who you are to be authentic. The second is, how are you interacting with other people? There are some individuals you will know who, when they're on stage, they're putting on a show. And then when they get off stage, they can't stand the public. They want to get away. They don't want to make autographs. They're not interested. So you want to be authentic. You want to be who you are, both on and off the stage. And one of the important aspects of that is your authenticity has to come from within you. So the more certain you are, the more confident you are, the more, shall I say, clearer you are about your message, the more people will be compelled to come to you. So the third element is your relationship with your audience. And they will be able to tell whether you're authentic or not, because it all comes from the heart. I often tell people that I connect the head and the heart so you can speak your truth. And if you're not speaking your truth, they can tell. When you're working with individuals to set up your relationships with your audience, when you're working with individuals, if you're coaching them or training them, you have to be able to show up who you are every time. And if you don't, they're going to see right through you. So the skill of speaking doesn't come from talking. It comes from an energy that's from within you. That energy is tapped and it extends to whoever's in front of you, whether it is a group of stamped people. I call them stamped people on a Zoom call because you look like little stamps, as what my students were for 18 months when I was speaking on Zoom and trying to get through to them. So no matter who it is, they can feel your energy. And they can tell whether or not you're sincere, you're authentic, and you truly want to help them solve whatever problem they're having. So it's not about you, it's about everybody else and how you can be there for them authentically and genuinely, and they will be compelled to follow you.
Excellent. Love that, Lillian. And again, a couple things that I hear that I hope you're listening to. It's all about relationships. That's a very important part. Lillian identified 3 types of relationships. And if you're fairly new, you want to get more speaking business, I'm going to give you a little homework assignment. Who are the top 5 people you know that you could talk with who may have the potential to hire you? You already have relationships, and all you have to do is start with those people. So your homework assignment is think about the top 5 people you know. If, for example, when I left the association business, I was the director for the Crime Prevention Association. I went right to my connection, which was law enforcement, and I started there. So wherever you're working, you're going to start there with those relationships. Now let's move on to the next panel member. Next panel member is Jim Canarucci. He's the founder of Transition Management Advisors. Jim works with companies to make the leadership organizational changes that they need to be competitive in the marketplace. And he's the author of a book called Personal Brilliance. And also Jim happens to be our current president for the NSA Ohio Association and the Dean of ProTrack. So Jim, let's talk about the whole idea of shifting from a free or non-paid speaker to a paid speaker.
Sure, Patrick. Thank you for that. And I love to talk about this part of it. Just for Lisa, I wore my personal brilliance shirt. We never stop being in front of the audience, right? I think one thing that we need to really think about is matching our message. Lillian talked about all of us have a message. Matching your message to a market that needs your solution. So who has the problem, right? And very importantly, who's willing to pay for a solution? An example, I would love to be a sales trainer. I'm not. The conversation goes something like, do you have the problem of needing more sales? Yes. Guess what? I have a solution to increase sales. No kidding. How much? Less than the increase in sales. Deal, right? That's how it tends to work. It's kind of straightforward. We know what we're offering and we know what the problem is and we know how to solve it. That's not the case for all of us though, right? So let's look at some of the other topical areas. What if you're a humorist? It may not be as obvious as the sales trainer. Think about though, the meeting professional having a conference, which has a full day of technical content. And her problem is that she's going to have a zombie conference goer at the end of that high content day. So the humorist creates energy in the room and pushes people into the next conference day with a lift. See, she had that problem. It's not necessarily in the Wall Street Journal listed as a problem, but it's a problem for her. She could get fired if that meeting doesn't go off well. And the humorist has a solution. So we all have this connection of problem solution, no matter how esoteric the topic area is, right? The solution makes sense for the person paying for it, and it therefore creates value. That's what we're after. That's what we want to explore. So your life experience has guided you to a topical area. The next step is to figure out who has a problem related to that area and how you can solve that problem. And then next, is there a scenario where the people with that problem gather together and therefore will pay for that solution? And this provides a foundation which you can then build on to create a sustainable business. So when you get to what you think the problems are and what your solutions might be, there are ways then to test that before jumping into the deep end. And those are some of the things that that we work with our students in our ProTrack program. We're going to talk about ProTrack in a little bit, but we spend a lot of time matching the message to the market, the appropriate market, and then that gets you started into a sustainable speaking business where you're a professional. And I think that's what we're all after.
I love that, Jim. You know, Jim's I call Jim the strategist guru because he really is a strategic thinker. And that's one of the skills that I think it takes to be a paid professional, is to be thinking about identifying the challenges and then providing solutions. So you heard 3 different perspectives about the topic. You know, there's a lot of things we can talk about. And in fact, in a few minutes, we're going to talk through and show you all the different competencies. And we're going to do a little poll to figure out which are the next top 3 topics you'd like to talk about. But since you're here, one of the things we like to do is we reward people that show up. So we're going to give away our first prize. We have 3 coaching packages to give away today. The first one, ironically, is me. So my package is a 1-hour communication with impact coaching session to help you think about how to grow in your business of speaking. So Joy's our wheel of prize queen. So whenever you're ready, Joy, we're going to run the wheel and see who's the big winner for the first coaching package. And round she goes. Where she stops, nobody knows, right? That's the old saying. I used to work at a carnival. I'm just kidding. It just
I will reshare because I wanted to include the sound.
Oh, yeah, please do. We love the noise.
Okay, here we go.
And here's the first big winner. Terry. All right, Terry, congratulations. Oh, no, I goofed up. I'm so sorry, Terry. This happens to me all the time. Not Terry.
Yay!
Oh my gosh, I apologize, Terry. The wheel is the expert. So it's Ukeme. Is that correct? Is that how you pronounce
It's
it?
Ukemi.
Ukemi. Well, Ukemi. Thank you. You are the big winner.
So exciting. I
we'll
win
send you an
nothing, so
email.
this is good.
We'll send you an email and you can connect with me to have a 60-minute coaching session to help you grow your speaking business. I love that. So Joy, I gotta be quiet. I'm an extrovert, so I tend to talk too quickly. You gotta wait for the wheel, right? So
Congratulations, you
sorry,
came in.
Terry. I'll send you some chocolate. All right, so listen, we're gonna do a poll right now, and we want to have you vote on 3 other topics you'd like us to talk about tonight. So Jim's going to share the screen. These are the 7 competencies that we talk about in the Paid to Speak program, actually in our ProTrack program. So I'm going to quickly run through them so you can see what all the areas are, and then we're going to put up a poll and you can vote on the top 3 topics we're going to focus on next with the panel. So number 1 is my expertise, right? We talk about what is your topical area. We heard about that tonight a little bit. What's your expertise and what's the market need, right? The whole idea of being a paid speaker is you got to find a market with people willing to pay. The second area is my solution. So we talked about this earlier, right? We're not in the speaking business. We're in the problem-solving business. So what problems do you solve? What problems can you focus on? What are the solutions you can provide? What are you really selling? And then, of course, what are the market characteristics of the buyer? These are all important business decisions. The third competency is my craft. So in this particular case, we talk a lot about stage presence, story development, audience engagement. And believe it or not, one of the best ways to get paid to speak is always be your best on stage, because that's your biggest sales tool. The fourth area is my marketing. And so in this particular case, we talk a lot about branding. And you can see some of the folks tonight are using their brands as even when they're on the screen with you today. We talk about PR and social media. And we also talk about speakers bureaus, because there are agents who actually, when you get to the level of a position where people want you, sometimes agents will work with you. The fifth competency is my sales. And again, this is the hardest part, I think, of the process. I know when I started, I loved to speak, but I didn't know how to sell. So I didn't eat well for the first couple of years, but I like mac and cheese. But anyways, in the sales process, we talk about how do you sell, we talk about pricing and contracts and how to get referrals, all the important things that really are the key to running a speaking business. Number 6 is my product. So in addition to having a speech, a lot of speakers have books. As you heard, some of our panel today have books, and we have people who have coaching resources, and they do training, and they provide all kind of tools and webinars and all things that can bring them income for their business. And of course, the last step of the competency is my business, where we take a look at, yes, you are getting paid, but now how do you manage everything, right? You have to pay your quarterly taxes, and you need to have a software to track all your accounts and your clients, et cetera, et cetera. So those are the 7 competencies. We're going to put up a poll right now, and based on your answers, we're going to pick 3. So you pick one that you want to focus on, and we're going to pick the top 3. So there they are, the 7 competencies. Go ahead and vote. And Jim, you need to let me know whenever you feel like we've got enough votes, and then we'll share the top 3 winners, and then we'll go back and take questions for the panel on those 3 topics.
They're coming in fast and furious, so
I love that.
2 minutes.
Yeah, and I know a lot of you want to pick more than one. I understand, but we're really going to ask you to pick one, and then we'll see which the top 3 vote getters are. And by the way, while you're doing that, I wanted to just point out in the chat, hey, Dink, I really liked your comment in the chat. So again, if you'd like to share some insights with each other, you want to share your expertise, the chat is a great place to do that. And thank you, Joy, for congratulating our first winner.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and end the poll.
Okay, well, let's
Share
take a
our
look.
results.
So look at the number one. The number one winner is my sales. Number 2 is my marketing, and number 3 is my solution. Does that make sense, Jim?
Yes, that's what I see as well.
Okay, so we're going to take a look at those 3 topics for the next part of our panel. And what I want to do is I'm going to just go to our panel members and have them kind of share some insights around those particular topics. And so let me, I just, I want to start off with, let's start off with my marketing. So I'm going to open up to the panel. Is there a particular marketing tip? In fact, I'll give one real quickly that I like and see what you want to add to that. One of the things that I mentioned earlier, I used to be an association director. And one of the tools that I found very helpful was when I want to speak for associations, and associations, believe it or not, do have a budget for speakers, and some pay speakers. And so my marketing tip is, once you know your topics, to write an article on your topic and see if you can get it published in an association newsletter, magazine, or blog. And once they publish your article, then you can follow up with the editor and say, hey, thank you for running my article. Do you ever use any paid speakers? And they go, oh, yeah, we do. And I say, well, who would I talk to? Oh, you should talk to Mary. Then you reach out to Mary and say, Mary, I was just in your magazine or your newsletter. I don't know if you saw my article. I think that'd make a great topic for a breakout session. I'd love to talk with you more about that. So one marketing tip is, once you're clear about your topics, to write some articles that you can use to direct, particularly in this case, to an association. Let me toss it out to another panel member. We'll stick with marketing. And then we'll come back with the other 2 topics. Go ahead.
Patrick,
I'll jump in on. Oh, go ahead, Jim.
Oh, well, I have one that's tied to writing articles, Lillian. So how about if I'll get that written real quick, and then we'll turn to you. I think doing research all of the time is very important. And when you're doing research all of the time, because you're building your thought leadership and your expertise, you're asking potential customers questions. You're having a conversation. And so actually, Patrick gave me this tip. We have a local business paper here in Columbus, Business First, and they have the Fast 50. So for a number of years, I wrote an article in the Fast 50 supplement, the 50 fastest growing companies in Columbus. And what that meant was I called each of the 50 winners and asked them questions, and then wrote my article. Guess what? I was in front of those 50 fastest growing folks. And so you can do that with your marketplace as well by doing research, pulling that into an article, publishing that article, and it just goes around a big circle of awareness. You can do that in social media as well. beyond just an actual article in a publication. So I think that getting in front of people, doing work that makes you smarter by definition, you're knocking off a couple of goals by doing that.
Excellent. Go ahead, Lillian. You got a My Marketing tip?
I just, what I did when I first started, especially, is I marketed myself by speaking. And I would call organizations and businesses and um, from everyone from the Rotary to Lions Club. I would design something about what I love, especially in interpersonal relations and interpersonal communication. And I would talk about that specific thing on helping these business owners figure out how to solve these problems. And I would give them just enough of a snippet that they would want more. And then they could call me and ask me to come in and do a training and that kind of thing. I'm typically more of a trainer than a keynoter. And so I would go in and do a training with a group and I would do coaching with their whole team. So I designed my programs around those specific conversations that I would have with them regarding what it is their problem was. So if they had a team that wasn't getting along and they weren't getting the work done and they were not inspired, I would come in and we would do a whole team building thing. I don't like that term, but that's what is typically used in business. And so we'd work together on that. And that the reason I was called in is because somebody heard me speak. And in my estimation, once they experience me, they'll want to work with me.
I love that. I love that, Lillian. And we talked about that earlier, right? Because one of your best selling points is your speech. What do you got? Or your workshop? Go ahead, Lisa.
Oh, I was going to say, part of marketing is the fact of just looking for ways to be top of mind. And that doesn't always have to do with business. It doesn't always have to do with, I'm a speaker, I do this. Sometimes you just reach out with fun things that you're doing. And video emails, I think is really fun to do because, and I will say when I'm doing a video email of, instead of sending you another boring email, I thought I'd stop in your inbox and just say hello. And for Christmas last year, for the holidays, I did a bad dad joke in those because they're my favorite. I just did a really ridiculous one for Halloween, complete in costume. And I had all kinds of candy saying, oh, and if you're looking for a speaker that brings good and plenty value, and I had good and plenty, it was just stupid. But I figure that it makes people laugh. It brings a little levity and it shows a part of your personality that they're not going to see from your speaker one sheet. And, you know, like Lillian is beautifully using it from a marketing standpoint. People want to see who you are, what you bring to the stage, what your personality is like. If you're a little quirky, you know, which you know, most speakers tend to be, then they like that instead of just, you know, how can I look good on a one sheet?
Yeah. I love that. And again, we're going to talk about the two other topics in a moment, my solution and my sales. But let me just remind you that, in my opinion, marketing is like a pre-sell. So marketing is, how do you position yourself in the marketplace? How do you brand yourself? So that means, you know, social media and all the other things that our panel members have been talking about are all an important part, because if people don't see you as a credible source, then they're not going to want to hire you. And so being a guest on a podcast is part of marketing, right? So let's go over to, we're going to do my solution, and then we're going to spend most of our time on my sales because that's the biggest topic. So in terms of my solution, again, part of the challenge for a lot of speakers is that they want to do everything. And what we're trying to get you to think about is, if you can figure out your specialty, your area of expertise, and then identify what problem you solve. So for example, obviously I'm a communications strategist, and my book is Communicating with Impact. So I help people identify, craft, and deliver a more powerful communications to get greater results. Then I talk about my solutions. So one thing about my solutions, and I'll see what the panel wants to share, is if you want to get people to think about solutions, you got to use benefit language, right? Not sales topic language. So benefit language is what's the value you bring. So solutions, you should be bringing some value. So I'm going to give you pretty big generic categories. Just jot these down, and then you can think about your own area of expertise and what solution you provide. So benefits are save time, save money, increase income, reduce stress, increase the relationship you might have with your customers, keep your staff, reduce turnover. You get the idea? So when you think about solutions, you got to use solution language. So that's my quick tip on solution. I'll open it to the panel. Any other thoughts about, solution focused problems? And okay, we'll go to Jim, then we're going to go to Lisa. Go ahead, Jim.
Yeah, Patrick, I'll borrow from our ProTrack faculty member and NSA Ohio member Christine Zuss. When she talks about topic development, she talks about the difference between a fat and a skinny topic. And I think when we're talking about our solutions, we should gravitate to the skinny. And here's what that means. A fat topic would be something like leadership. A skinny topic would be something like how to do one-on-one meetings with your employees, benefit to create employee engagement and recognition, all of that goes with it. And so if our solution is very zeroed in on that particular scenario, situation, problem that in this case leaders encounter, you're going to be that fill in the blank person that Lisa mentioned, right? That's the go-to person for that. And you can go deep with that particular solution, answer all of the questions, handle all of the situations that come up if you're doing that. Now, it brings up niche marketing when you start talking about that. How niche should you get? I believe strongly in niche marketing, with the caveat that you can have more than one niche, right? So that gives us a little bit of freedom. It doesn't put you in a box and keep you bored, get you bored with your own content, right? But getting that skinny topic so that you can zero in, and now you're really working on solutions. And we have that word keynote. That's what we're talking about. It's one thing we're working on at a time, right? And allows you to really get that solution honed so that people can understand it and ingest it from you.
I
Lisa.
love that. So Lisa, what do you have on the solution? And then we're going to jump over to my sales.
Okay. Well, it has to be beyond your story. Everybody comes into the speaking business because they have a story, and I just want to share my story. And I don't want to say people don't care about your story, but they don't care about your story if they can't relate to it, if there's not something that they can learn from this. So taking the lessons that you've learned from your own story and making it translatable to the audience so that they have something that they can walk out with. So when we talk about my solution, that's the thing. Okay, what can I teach as a result of this heart-wrenching or moving or inspirational story that I know that I have that I need to share with the world? But it has to be much more than that. There has to be a solution attached to it.
Yeah, I love
I
that.
agree with you, Lisa. I think that's really important. And the other piece of it is based on what Patrick and Jim have said, is that you are actually selling outcomes. People buy the outcome. And sometimes the solution you are offering may not be the outcome they get because it could be something different based on the human dynamics and what you're working with. But you're always open to that, to let them know that whatever happens, you're there all the way for them. And your solution and their outcome sometimes may be different, but what it is they get what they need from you because you were able to facilitate whatever they needed at that time.
Great wisdom from Lillian, as always. She's always got some great wisdom. I love that. Thank you. So let's talk about my sales. And this is a great transition, right? Because people want to buy value, right? You're selling the value. So you're not selling a speech. Hopefully you're getting the idea. You're not selling a workshop. You're selling results. And so, and part of the sales process is you have to be able to clearly identify and communicate the value because people are going to pay for value. So in the sales process, I'll give a quick tip and then I want to hear from our panelists. And again, we're going to open up for Q&A in a few moments. So if you got a couple questions, jot them down and we'll take some of your questions. For me, in terms of sales, the thing that changed my whole business is when I began to create systems. So a selling system, for example, early on in my business, I used a software, a CRM, customer relation management software, and there's a variety of tools out there. But once I started to create a sales system where I was tracking my prospects, I was tracking the calls I was making, I was identifying when I should be making calls, I was scheduling each week to do a sales event, probably 2, 3, 4 hours a week. So you can't just show up and be a speaker without doing all the work behind the scenes. And that means you have to have sales in place. You have to plan time to do sales, and you have to understand what sales is all about. So for me, one of the tools I want to suggest is think about how are you going to track everything? Because if you can't track it, well, if you can't measure it, then you can't sell it. So let me go to the rest of the group. I know this is a big topic, so let's see what are some sales tips you might want to share. And again, folks, please jot down your questions because we're going to come back, give away another prize and take your questions. So sales topics or tips, just raise your hand, panel, and we'll go to you. Go ahead, Lisa.
Okay, well, this is also going to play beautifully into the coaching package I'm going to be giving away. But my 3 favorite words in the speaking business is do the work. Is you're picking up the phone, you're making the connections. You're not hiring somebody else to make the calls for you because you don't want to make the calls. Nobody can sell you like you sell you. And again, it used to be in sales that it would take 7 contacts for somebody to know who you are. And now numbers are showing that it's more than 21 times that people hear from you before they pay any attention to you whatsoever. Because you're sending an email, they're deleting it. You're connecting on LinkedIn, they're not accepting it. You're putting a phone call, it goes to voicemail. Sooner or later, they're going to say, that name sounds familiar, but it's because they've been seeing you in their inbox regularly or hearing you on their voicemail or whatever it is. But it's you're doing the work, and especially, and I'm not saying at some point you can never hire an assistant to make calls for you. After 13 years, I still don't have people making calls for me. I do my own. But at least at the beginning, learn what it is, learn the questions that they ask, and learn how to sell yourself, because it's not just having a good speech, it's getting the speech, it's earning the speech, and that comes from selling.
I love that. Great, Lisa. And again, we're going to give away a prize from Lisa's coaching session just in a few minutes. So who else wants to share a tip on sales from the panel? Feel free to raise your hand.
Well, one of the things I admit I'm still learning after 30 years, because I just can't figure out humans. Humans are so unusual. What an interesting species we are. And but I'm still developing, and I'm willing to admit that. And I've reinvented myself and changed my approach many times. And one of the things I do is I offer the opportunity to people to visit with me. And then once they make that decision, because they've had the chance to experience me, then we talk about what I offer and what we can do. I think I would agree with Lisa. You have to be diligent and you have to be willing to put yourself out there. And if they say no, that's just in the moment. That doesn't mean it's no forever, because it could be they don't understand what you're offering, or they don't know if they need something that you're offering. So part of it is the educational aspect. I educate people on what I offer, and then see if they're interested, great. And if they're not, great. Either way, you can't be connected to the outcome and take it personally. You just have to be out there and let people know that you're available. And one of the things I learned from NSA, and I will attribute this to our last national speaker, is just make phone calls, whether or not they're there, and leave a message and tell them, you don't have to call me back. I'm just letting you know I have this new program for emerging leaders, and I thought you might be interested. I'll be in touch again. And that's it. And what I have found is people call because they're curious now. So what was that you said? You left me a message? And I also do something else. I interview people who I want to work with, and I ask them about what their biggest challenges are, what they're interested in. And I tell them I'm going to write an article, and I will keep their names out of it, but that I really want to connect with them and let them know that this is something that I do. And each person, so I've done it 3 times now. 2 of them have called me back and asked me to work with them. And I never asked them to hire me. I just told them I was interested in them, and I wanted to know what they needed and what their challenges are, and that I was going to write an article about it or blog about it and just say, these are things that you may be thinking. And it was totally not to sell, but they bought. because they want to buy. And if they know you're a person who brings something to them that they need, they will be compelled to hire you because they've had that opportunity to hear what you have to say.
I love that, Lillian. And, I'm going to throw a phrase out there, diagnose before you prescribe, right? So the sales process is not like the old days, you show up and throw up where you just like overwhelm them with information, right? You want to ask good questions. You want to diagnose, you want to find out what their problem is so you know how you can help them. Jim, did you want to add a thought or comment to the sales topic?
I normally don't talk about sales that much, but I got a call this morning, Patrick, from a brand new speaker who had followed Lisa's advice and contacted the meeting professional 21 times. And she was in sheer panic mode because the meeting planner answered and said, I want to do it. And she was like, oh, what do I do? Right. And so it's just so wonderful. What came to mind are the 5 magic words. And they are, what we typically do is. Those 5 words are so magical. You don't have to have years and years and decades of experience to be able to use those words. But if you think through the problem, the solution you're providing, how that, in this case, an audience will you take in that solution. We know how it should work. And typically the people that hire us, or often the people that hire us, aren't that experienced. They might have other jobs or what have you. They don't know what to do. And they're like, when you say what we typically do, you get this feeling like, she gets it. She understands what we need. This is great. And then the relationship goes back and forth, and you end up through the process of figuring out the best solution for that instance. The money, all of that comes together when you take that kind of an approach. But it is normal and okay to be panicked when they answer, and you have to get to the next step. So I just thought I'd throw the 5 magic words in for everybody.
I love that. The 5 magic words. What we typically do is. I love that. And
I've used it. Thank you. I learned this from Jim, and I have used this. And when I used it, I didn't typically do anything, but I typically figured it out after they said yes. So it does work. I have to
so that's a
say.
great point, Lillian. You have to be prepared to say, what's the answer when I say what I typically do is. So there's a lot of tools you want to have for your toolkit in sales. And one of those is, your 30-second commercial, right? When people say, what do? You need to know what that is. And in the old days, when I first started, we used to have sales scripts, right? I would have a sales script on how I'd make a sales call. So again, we're just highlighting some of these topics tonight, but I'm going to give you another homework assignment. I'd like you to start thinking about what are your top 5 questions you want to be asking prospective clients so you can diagnose before you prescribe. So listen, again, jot down some questions. We got a couple things to do. Then we're going to open up the floor to Q&A. Number one, we do want to spend a minute and just talk a little bit about ProTrack. Jim, is this a good time for us to do that?
Sure.
Yeah. And then when we finish the little discussion about ProTrack, we'll give away our next prize.
While we're here, interrupting the festivities, I just want to let you know, if you're available this Friday, we do have an NSA Ohio seminar this Friday. So Michelle Villalobos is sharing with us, and you can see she's talking about developing your big back end. But what we typically do, see, I used it, is we have 5 seminars per year at NSA Ohio, and we bring in a national speaker to share with us on the subject of professional speaking, so that we get better. And so it's from 10 to 3 in Dublin this Friday. And she's going to talk about things like retreats, adding coaching, what you can do beyond just standing on the stage. So if you can, please join us. If it's your first time attending one of our seminars, there is no cost. So you should be aware of that. And hopefully we'll see some of you on Friday. Next is ProTrack. I just want to bring up the idea of ProTrack. Give me 1 second, and in chat, if you want to, give me 1 second. I got to work the buttons. If you want to attend on Friday, I'm sending you a link that will take you to our events. And then if you want to think about ProTrack, you can see the link right on the screen, nsaohio.com/ProTrack. But Patrick's alluded to it, I've alluded to it. What ProTrack is an intensive, it's an intensive program. It's 5 months long. It starts in January and goes through May. And we've given you a bit of a sample here tonight. We cover all of the competencies within that program. I would like to introduce to you on our call, and you've seen her with the prize wheel already, is Joy Zhao. Joy is the administrator for the upcoming ProTrack class, and her job is to handhold you through the entire program so she can answer any questions that you might have. If you'd like to connect directly with Joy, go ahead and send her a direct message with your email address in chat, and she'll get back to you and be able to answer any questions. But if you visit nsaohio.com/ProTrack, it'll give you all the details. It's time sensitive from the standpoint that we're starting in January. So if you're interested in building your speaking business, taking your speaking business to the next level, that's something that you want to look at. It's a combination of online course material and in-person sessions. And as I said, it goes from January through May. And we work through all the aspects of building a sustainable speaking business. So take a look at that. And if you have any questions, we're happy to help. And it's just kind of what we're doing tonight on steroids and a lot more detail, and really allows you to dig into your business. So take advantage.
I love that. Thank you,
Patrick,
Jim.
I'll turn it back to you.
Perfect. Again, start jotting down some questions. We do want to give away another coaching package, and Lisa alluded to it. So, Joy, when you get a chance, let's spin the wheel and see who's the next winner for our coaching package with Lisa. And Lisa's package is all about sales. So we're going to have her help you in that particular topic. And so, Joy, I'm going to learn my lesson. I'm not going to say anything until the name pops up.
Great learning.
It'll take long for me to figure this stuff out. Randall, you ready to work with Lisa? I hope so, because you won the package. All right. So let's do this. I'd love if you have questions now. We've got about 10 more minutes. And by the way, we're not going to be done at 8 o'clock. If you'd like to stick around, we're doing what we call the after party. If you have to go at 8, we understand. But if you want to stick around, the whole panel is going to hang out for another few moments, and we'll take other questions you might have or anything else you want to talk about. But for now, we want to open up the floor and get a chance to hear from you. So just raise your hand, and let me just give you a couple quick guidelines. Number one, try to keep your question as brief as possible so we can get as many questions as we can in, and try to stick with the topics we talked about today. So who has a question for the panel? You can direct it to a person specifically, or you can just throw it out to the group and we'll ask the group who wants to answer. So again, the whole point of being here tonight is to help you think about how to grow your speaking business, how to get into the business, or how to get paid if you're already in the business, or get more money from other options. So Ed, what do you got? Throw your question out to the group.
Yeah, so I just have a quick question about ProTrack. Is that held during the week, or is that on the weekends?
It is on the weekends. One thing you should also know, it's tied into, as part of the package of ProTrack, you have access as part of the package to our seminars in January, March, and May. And so we do in-person sessions at the end of those days, if you will. So you attend the seminar and then ProTrack, and then we have a few in-person sessions in the in-betweens. Those are done on the weekends. On Saturdays, there are a couple of Zoom meetings that happen in the evenings during the week on a Tuesday evening. And we could work around that with schedule. So we try to do it on the weekend. I hope that helps.
Yeah, I'm just thinking I have a 9 to 5, so that's like, this is a side gig.
Designed specifically to help you out. Yep.
Beautiful. Thank you.
And if you want, Jim, maybe you can put a link in the ProTrack, because Ed, by the way, there's all the dates are on the website, so you can start to take a look at, when all the meetings are, if you want it. That would be helpful. Who's got another question for the panel? Again, any topic relating to speaking, growing your speaking business, sales or marketing, again, this is really for you to help you get what you might need. And we'd love to help you in any way we can tonight. And don't be shy. Just raise your hand and we'll take your questions. What do you got, Gina? Oh, unmute yourself. Sorry about that. We muted everybody.
There we go. I was having mouse issues. So this has been great, by the way. Thank you so much, Lillian, for inviting me. I was in sales, so I get the whole target thing. I'm curious, and I know this answer is going to vary. You mentioned meeting planners. Who do these contacts tend to be? What kind of titles? What kind of roles?
Yeah. Anybody want to jump on that? Lisa, go ahead.
Yeah, I would say my market is primarily associations, and I try to start at the top. So I will call on the executive director, because if I call, Joe Brown, who's the executive director, and I ask him who's in charge of speaker selection for their upcoming convention in Boston, he's going to say, that's not my responsibility. That's Sally Sue, and I've copied her on this email. So that's the ideal perfect world. But if you start higher, because a lot of times people will start with the meeting planner or the event planner or whatever, and these people get barraged with speakers. So I try to start as high in the organization as possible.
Thank you.
Yeah, and Gina, I work in more of a corporate setting, and my target is actually the leader. So it might be a division vice president or executive vice president of a division. That's who's making the decision for me. They then tell the person putting the meeting on, Jim's our speaker, right? So it varies on a market by market basis. It's very, very different across the board. So part of finding that match to your market is who are those contacts? Where do they live? What do they read? What do they watch, etc., so that you can reach them.
Right. Thank you.
And again, it depends on what you're selling, right? If you're selling a workshop, if you're selling training, if you're selling a keynote, the key phrase we call it is a meeting professional. Some organizations actually have a meeting professional, but a lot of times it might be HR, it might be the director, of a particular department. Thank you, Gina. Nisi, what's your question?
Hello, thank you so much. You guys gave us a lot of good, helpful information. And so I work a lot with women's organizations and youth. And I contacted a lady that has a women's program, and she's going to be having an upcoming event. And she was asking me, well, do you have a press kit? And so I've never put together a press kit. So just want to hear your thoughts on a press kit or media kits.
So is she asking for a press kit because you're going to be on a podcast, or does she want to know your speaking topics?
So she wants to know how I present to my audience, because it is going to be a upcoming conference.
Yes.
And she says that this is going to be like 500 to 700 people.
Yes. Do you have a website, Nisi?
So no, I end up giving them my link to like my Google page, and then that kind of like tells, I had a website before, but I never got any traction. Okay, so kind of
I'll go quickly and then I'll ask the panel. I'm a big believer in having a one page. So it's a simple one page that has a listing of a little bit of bio about you, your top 3 topics, maybe a couple testimonials. This is one of the things we talk about in ProTrack. And Nisi, if you email me, patrick@patrickdonadio.com, I'll send you mine. You can see what it looks like, and that'll give you a little bit of a template. So if you don't have a website, and a lot of new folks don't have websites, it'd be helpful if you had this one pager that describes kind of a little bit about your business and your topics.
Yeah, I do have a one pager, but thinking she wanted something more in depth, but thank you. Yeah.
Lisa, go ahead.
Nisi, do you have any videos at all? Have you recorded yourself speaking anywhere?
I have a little bit of videos, not like really in depth, because most of the places that I have spoken at, which hasn't really been a whole lot as far as like being paid, I can't record the audience because of it's, they have to sign off
Right.
Yeah, so I can't record them. So I just basically, yeah.
Okay. So and that's Patrick was giving you homework assignments. I'm going to give you one. Anytime you're speaking, you have this beautiful video camera right here. Get
Mm-hmm.
yourself a Bluetooth microphone on Amazon, get yourself a
Okay.
tripod, set your
Mm-hmm.
phone up at the back of the room, and tell the meeting planner that you're just recording you. So make sure that it's just focused on the stage so you don't have to worry about
Mm-hmm.
the privacy issues for that. But
Right.
without question, anytime somebody calls me, they will say, I've seen your videos. Videos the most important when it comes
Mm-hmm.
to your kids. So get a couple links on there on YouTube and Vimeo. And then as far as your one sheet, I would say Canva and Chat GPT for the descriptions, and you can create beautiful professional materials.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah, I've worked on the Canva before, but
Yeah.
the person that did my one pager was on Fiverr.com, and they did a really good job. So, but thank you. So,
You're welcome.
Mhm.
Yukami, I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name again. Please help me out. But you have a question?
I do. And I'll echo everyone's thank you here on this. This has been pretty informative, and I'm looking forward to attending the event on Friday. So I'm like emerging in this, and I'm trying to understand this. It's good that I'm following up on Nisi's questions here, because I'm trying to understand the importance of a speaker reel. I do have a couple of videos. Lucky for me, I gave a commencement speech, so that one's pretty public. People can go see the commencement speech, but I'm still asked for a speaker reel, and I'm trying to gauge at what point it makes sense to make that investment. So if anyone has any thoughts on the importance of that and getting booked out, I'd appreciate it.
I'll throw it out to
I
the
think it's a
panel.
pretty penny.
Yeah, it can be.
Well, I'll jump on that if again, using the video snips that you have, because people want to see you on stage and they want to see you on a variety on stages. If you can do anything like a showcase video where it's showing 10 minutes of uncut video, that's also a good one to have. But the speaker reels, oh yeah, you can pay a couple $100 to $25,000 for a speaker reel and everything in between. At the beginning of your speaking career, because your videos are going to get much, much better the more you speak, then use what you have and go to Fiverr or go to Upwork or something like that, where you can find a couple $100, look at the work that they've done before, make sure that it is you talking on stage, not just a talking head video or an interview of you, because meeting planners want to actually see you on stage. That's the most important video that you can have.
Yeah. I love that. Listen, we're gonna give away our last prize. And again, you don't have to rush off, but I want to be mindful of our time. So Joy, let's do the last coaching package. Lillian Zarzar is going to have a package. She's going to help people, help them grow their speaking business, whether it be on speaking skills or relationships. So we're going to spin the wheel for the last time. And then again, we'd love you to stick around. We'll take all the questions you have as long as you're hanging out with us for the next 20 minutes if you need to. So here we go. Okay, Terry's the big winner. So Lillian, you and Terry are going to be working together, and I'm assuming Joy, somehow we're keeping track of all the winners, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hi, Terry. Looking forward to working with you.
I
It'll
love
be
that.
great.
Well, listen, I want to make sure we be mindful of our time. So I want to just remind everybody again, if you'd love to join us on Friday, come over in Dublin. We'd be happy to have you. If you're brand new, your first meeting is no charge. If you'd like to learn more about ProTrack, in the chat box right now, you'll see a link. If you're watching us on video, we will have a link attached with the video so you can see where to go to learn more about ProTrack. And again, I would love to thank our panel, Lillian, Lisa, and Jim, for sharing their wisdom tonight. And let me just wrap up with this, and then again, stick around. We're gonna hang out, but I do want to make sure that you not just join us today, but you do something. So I would love if you wouldn't mind before you leave, just type in the chat. What's the one thing you're going to commit to doing after you've been with us tonight to help take your speaking business to the next level? Love to just see what you come up with. And as we're doing that, that's also a good way as a little summary for some of the key points. And by the way, you're allowed to steal what somebody else types in the chat. If you don't have one, you can take theirs. So on the way out, feel free to type in your favorite thought. And I'm going to go ahead and say, if you have a question, just raise your hand while we're wrapping up. If you have to take off, we totally get that because we know we're scheduled to go till 8 o'clock. So please type in your chat, your good takeaways. And I'm already seeing some great comments already. People are asking, identifying targets. I love that. Target marketing is a very important skill set. Again, please type in some of your key takeaways. And if you make some calls, thank you, Lori. And if you want to have a question, you want to go a little deeper, you can raise your hand. We'll be happy to take a few more questions because, again, we've got some more time tonight if you can stay with us. Contact Executive Director Randall, look at you. You got Lisa to help you figure that out because you won your package. Who's got another question for the panel? Or maybe something you'd like to share, an insight or a thought. We'd love to continue the dialogue for a few more moments while you're with us. Take advantage of all this free advice.
While we're gathering questions, Patrick, just a note, tomorrow morning, you'll all receive an email with a PDF, 7 competencies, so a little bit more information, a reference tool that you could use going forward.
And thank you, Jim. And by the way, if you're watching this on the recording and you would like that 7 competencies article, you just can go to chapteradmin@nsaohio.com. Chapter admin, ADMIN @nsaohio.com. Nisi, you got a question? What do you got?
Okay, so I want to make sure I get your email.
Oh, yes.
So I can I want to also send you my one pager too, but you can send me yours. But what's your email?
Yeah, I'll type it in the chat. Hold on.
You're gonna type it in? Okay.
Yeah, I'll type it in the chat for you. It's patrick@patrickdonadio.com.
Okay.
And anybody that wants that, wants that one pager, I'm happy to send it to anybody. So just email me, patrick@patrickdonadio.com. And they just put one page and I'll be happy to send it to anybody who wants it. So I just put it in the chat in case you need it.
Okay, thank you. And also I was going to ask how long did it take you guys to get traction? Because I feel like I've been on the journey. I feel like I've tried a whole lot of different things, from phone calls to setting up meetings to just putting myself out there in all kinds of ways, to come and have my website. So how long did it take you to actually get traction before you made it happen?
Well, Nisi, for me, it was instantaneous. Everybody just
wow.
and they just rang my phone.
You liar, 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 liar.
Nisi, to answer that question, it depends. And it depends on a number of things. And I hate to go back to ProTrack, but what ProTrack's about is shaving time off. Because some of the things that we do, like if we're not matching our message with our market, if we're not doing the sales, identifying where those people are and doing the sales in the right sequence, we're wasting time, right? And I think often we think, I've got a great message, they'll just come, build it and they will come. And we know the world just doesn't work that way. Yeah. And so it's all about the fundamentals, the tasks, and figuring them out. And each of us go at a different pace. And sometimes it feels like overnight success when it really was years and years of building, right? Yeah. So it's a hard question to answer, but it depends is the answer.
It just depends. Yeah. Thank you, Jim.
I can give you a quick answer from my own experience. What I did was not the way to do it. I just quit my job and said, I'm going to be a speaker. I think what we're doing tonight, a lot of folks are doing it part-time, trying to build it slowly while you have income coming in, is a great way to do it. So, but I think the key is that you have to have some of these things like Jim said. First of all, you have to have definite branding, like a one page, so people can know what you're offering. You need to have a fee schedule so people know what you charge, or your investment schedule. And then it's a matter of, just getting out there and networking and building the relationships. I will say for me, it was about 2 years in the making. I think I made about $8,000 my first year, but I knew that going in, I had to live off of my savings. I knew that. I planned for 2 years of not having any money. And it was like, well, you planned it, it worked. Right. So, but I think what we're talking about tonight is a lot of folks here have not had the luxury of having some of the skill sets and expertise of other people. That's why our association is a great place, to get some of that. Who else has got a quick question? Thank you, Nisi. Before we leave, do you want to add something, Lisa?
My 6 words: do the work, trust the process.
Yeah.
Because it took, I would say, for me, it was more like 4 years before I was profitable. But taking that, because I invested a lot in my speaking business, and ProTrack I did very early as well, because it helped me to develop the business mind for a speaking business. But I was also starting from ground zero. I had to figure out my speech. I had to figure out my market. I had to figure out everything. So yeah, please, 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 please do not quit your day job and decide to be a speaker. Have another income for as long as you possibly can while you're building a speaking business.
And if you're married to somebody that has health insurance, it doesn't hurt.
Yes.
So.
Good point.
Well,
Who else
what I
has a
would
question?
is
Who else has a question?
Find somebody with health insurance and marry them.
Yeah.
well, I wish there were a ProTrack when I started speaking, and there was no ProTrack. So I learned by going to meetings, asking people, taking speakers to lunch, buying them breakfast and saying, how do you do this? What do I do? And one of them said, how serious are you? How much do you want to get into this business? And I said, this is something I'm going to do for the rest of my life. And when she heard that, she said, why don't you consider a seminar company? Typically, it's a 3-year thing. And for 3 years, they will send you out. You can practice your speaking. You can practice ideas. You can present to lots of different audiences and get experience. So I did. I put something together, and I went to Fred Pryor seminars and told them I was interested. I flew myself to Kansas and talked to them about it. And they said, oh, well, we like your style and let's do it. So I stayed with them, and then I went to Skill Path. They called me. 16 years I was on the road, and I practiced everything. I talked all the time. I gave speeches. I did exercises with people. I tried everything. And it took me, I would say, between 3 and 6 years to really build my own business. But I loved traveling the world, and I figured as long as they would send me there, I'd go, and I did. As a matter of fact, I ended up going to Australia 16 times. I went every year and stayed a good 4 to 6 weeks. But I practiced all the time, all the time. And Lisa is right. Do the work, do the work. Make the calls, do the work, practice the sessions, do the work. I can't say it more often. She said it, everybody said it.
Yeah.
Do the work. If it's something you love, then it really isn't work. But you have an
Exactly.
important message. You might as well
We
develop.
do have we have a tagline for tonight's session. It's in invisible ink. It's get paid to speak and then scared straight. Right? It's like this is hard work.
Well, I'll tell you,
we don't want to gloss over that for sure.
It would have cut my learning curve to join a ProTrack if I had the opportunity.
Right.
At the time we didn't have ProTrack, and it would have cut my learning curve. But being a part of NSA helped, and then all the practicing I did and the development of different courses that I did and developing content and doing the research, that's what really helped me too.
Yeah, it really is a lifelong learning perspective.
It is, yeah.
You have to have. That's really the only way you can bring value to your audiences. You have to be getting better all the time, in general, not just at speaking, right?
Right.
Right.
Yeah. Well, who else has got a
Right.
few more questions? We have some time. I'd love to make sure all of you who are still hanging around, if you got a question, raise your hand or just wave to the camera. because this is really, we're here for you. We want you to get the kind of things you wanted to gain out of tonight. Obviously, you got a lot of value already, but if there's something else you want to ask us, don't be shy. Open your mic, wave to the camera. We'll take a few more questions.
Just know that the more you grow yourself, the more your business will grow.
So Terry, Barbara, Roderick, Melissa, Danica, Marcus, you got any questions for us? What do you got, Terry?
Thanks so much. This has been great. I was so happy to hear you talk about publishing articles and, because I love to write and so many people I find don't. And it's such a great way to, like you said, put it in a newsletter, get it published someplace. It's something you can send to clients. You can send it to people and say, hey, I was, like you said, I was just in your publication and I'd like to do more. And I just don't hear that often enough to how important the writing is for the speaking.
Yeah, Terry, I write every single day, no matter what. Now, is it all published? No, not necessarily, but the act of writing is the act of speaking as well, if you think about it. Putting thoughts together in a cogent way so that people can learn from them. And that's practice. Again, whether you publish it or not, but of course it becomes part of the marketing message as well, and the thought leadership that you develop. So yeah, I can't think of anything more important than that as part of the process. Again, each of us is a little different, but yeah, it's nice that you're comfortable with that.
And you talk too about self-awareness, because what do we want to do? We want to share, right? I mean, we're human. We want to share. We want to always talk more, write more. So I say, I also teach and I tell my students that first draft is not going to be perfect. Get it all out. It's going to be messy, and that's how it should be. Then once you have that, then find those golden nuggets, build your story or build your whatever it is you're building around that.
Terry, my book coach told me this phrase, and I know it's probably not the best thing to share, but he said, puke and polish. He said, just get it out there, polish it later. Don't be worried about being perfect. So I always remember that. Again, I know we can come up with a better branding term, but puke and polish is kind of the phrase that sticks with me.
And the thing too, see, and just in case you guys didn't get your copy of Cast Polymer magazine this month, then you would have missed my article on Gen Z and manufacturing.
There you go.
And the funny thing is with this article can be repurposed to the roofing magazine. It's been repurposed to the steel magazine, but it is kind of nice for the ones that actually, because a lot of times when I publish articles, it is, the PDF version, or it's in their eMag publication. But when they send me my copy of Cast Polymer Connection, I'm all over it. So, and then I can take a picture of that and I can post it on social media and thank the International Cast Polymer Association for featuring my article. So again, it just builds up that credibility. Articles really do work.
I love that. And I put in the chat, again, if you'd like to see samples on my resources page, I'm not selling anything. Go there and you're going to see a bunch of different articles that I've had published to give you an idea what it looks like. And very simply, I'm a very simple person. Opening paragraph, 7 or 8 tips, closing paragraph. That's an article. So feel free to go there and get some ideas of what we're talking about when we talk about articles. Who else has got a question? This is great. We're here for you. I know we're kind of over our time frame, but I don't know about the rest of the panel, but I'm happy to stick around, but only if you got some things you'd like to learn. So Melissa or Pia or Roderick or Danica or Ernest or Marcus, who else wants to ask? Or Barbara?
Can we go to sleep now, Patrick? So
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to just share with you how important it is to leave some silence, even though that was very painful for a lot of us. But when you do ask for questions, I've learned a long time ago, I count to 7. Any questions? 1001. Hurry up. I can't take it. 1002. Oh my gosh, it's driving me crazy. 1003. Don't you have something to say? Yeah. All right. Well,
I want to thank everybody for hanging in there.
Yeah.
It's evening time, and we really appreciate you.
Thank you for being with us.
Thank
And
you.
thank you all. Feel free to
Your
stay in touch, and
expertise.
hopefully we'll see you at some point in the future at some other event. And again, look forward to that email tomorrow with the 7 competencies. Good night, everybody, and thank you for joining
Good
us
night.
Good
on Paid to
night.
Speak.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
I'll be in touch, Terry.
All right. Really.